Hello, hello. Welcome to TGP Live. I want to say welcome to everybody who's joining us live on YouTube, on Facebook. Possibly you're catching the replay. So glad that you took some time out of your day to click play and be a part of TGP Live. TGP Live happens every third Sunday at the Gathering Place. And here at the Gathering Place, we make space for everyone everywhere to gather, grow, and go. And we do that digitally online. So no matter where you're watching, we invite you to be a part of the Gathering Place. Maybe you're watching with a friend, a family member, a coworker, a neighbor. No matter where you are, make some space for community so we can gather together, grow together, and go together. And so if you're, for those of you who may not know, maybe you're watching us in another state, the Gathering Place is based right here in the Twin Cities of Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul, surrounding suburbs, and beyond. And so we've had the pleasure of being launched, if you will, in March of 2025. I have to remember to say that last year was 2025 because it is a new year. It's 2026, and this is our first TGP Live in 2026. And so I want to invite you. Will you share this live? Will you share this replay with someone who may need to hear it, who may need to see it? And also, do me a favor, let us know in the comments section, in the chat, where you're watching from. Are you watching from Canada? Are you watching from California, where it's warm right now? It is snowing outside here in the Twin Cities, but nevertheless, let us know where you're joining us from, and we want to continue to have that chat going live. I have the pleasure of being joined by Faith Brandon, who is my sister. Do me a favor, clap it up for her wherever you are. Welcome, Faith. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling fine. A little cold, but okay.
A little cold. Yes, tomorrow will be very cold.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's MLK Day, so
Tomorrow's Martin Luther King Jr.'s holiday celebration, MLK Day. Some people have it off from work. Do you have it off from work?
I do not.
You do not.
But I will still celebrate.
But you'll
I
still
usually
celebrate.
try to see, go to some type of activity or watch something online just to celebrate and just really be a part in some way.
That's cool. Yeah, I have the day off tomorrow, but I'm also working tomorrow, or celebrating, should I say. I get the pleasure of singing with, I call him Unc, Billy Steele, the one and only Billy Steele, who will be performing at the MLK United Negro College Fund breakfast. Long title.
By General Mills.
Hosted by General Mills. And so we start tomorrow. I believe breakfast is served at 7:30, and then we start around 8, if I'm not mistaken. Doors open at 6:45, and since I'm performing, I get to be there before doors open. And I'm excited about that. And it's supposed to be a negative wind chill of about 20 to 30 degrees. Yet we will celebrate MLK.
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. And what a time.
Yeah.
Perfect timing to celebrate.
It is.
A man who fought for change, who fought for equality, who fought for diversity, who fought for humans, no matter what you look like, no matter where you're from. And that is pivotal, especially in these times that we're living in 2026 in the
Right.
United States, where things are ever changing. As we start our TGP Live session, we do a segment called In Not Of, because we're in the world, but we are not of the world. And I want to hit Faith with some questions. And for our audience who's watching on live, feel free to answer these questions if you have the ability to hop in the chat and let us know. But I want to talk about a couple things that are buzzing in the headlines right now. So a federal immigrant enforcement surge, ICE, DHS, continues right here in Minneapolis and St. Paul. That's sparked protest. It's sparked court rulings, restricting tactics, if you will, about how they're detaining people, and even the Department of Justice probe into local leaders I recently found out that the DOJ is investigating Renee Good's partner to see if she had anything criminal to do with what transpired not too long ago. Also, in the headlines, a federal judge just imposed sweeping limits on ICE tactics to protect peaceful protesters. And also, local debates are happening over safety, over rights, over identity, and our community everywhere. And then, most recently, President Trump declared plans for tariffs on several European countries unless the U.S. acquires Greenland. So President Trump is trying to purchase Greenland, and some could say that he is twisting their arm to make that purchase. So I want you to know that we're not here to solve the world's problems in 10 minutes because we know that's actually impossible for us to do, but we're just naming what's happening and trying not to lose our minds or our humanity. I don't know about you, but I've been fighting not to lose my mind, not to lose my peace, and hang on to my humanity when we live in a world where the opposite is happening. And so as we're doing that, I want to ask you a few questions, Faith. First being, on a scale from I'm fine to I've stress cleaned my whole house 2 times, how are you actually doing right now?
I think I've been in disbelief. I don't know. I probably am not the person who stress cleans their house, but I emotionally eat.
Okay.
And so, and we're fasting. So that's a tough one, but the Lord has helped me
Oh.
to eat something that's healthy, even though I'm stress eating.
What have you eaten? You mind sharing?
I've gotten some yogurt. I've gotten some yogurt granola. I had some vegetables with noodles. I've had, some potatoes because I feel like that's a part of the fast.
For sure, it's a vegetable.
Yep. So, I've had some potatoes. So that's kind of been my stress eating, so that I don't eat something else.
That's cool. I understand. I haven't been stress eating, but I have been trying to drink healthy, no juice, as our TGP Live community has been holding me accountable. I've committed to no juice during our fast, and so I've been drinking kombucha, which does not taste like juice in any way, shape, or form. And it gives you a healthy gut and a whole bunch of other benefits. I really bought them because they were drastically on sale at Costco, my favorite store. You can get 6 for $19. And usually these are like $6-7 at the store.
That's a good price.
Yeah, this is Pink Lady Apple, and it's not delicious. All right. So what headline this week, Faith, if you don't mind me asking, made you laugh out loud because it sounded fake?
I think there's been so many headlines that I just was like, I was just like, wait, this doesn't make sense. But I think some of the headlines that have come out of Minnesota, where we live, and saying that there's violence happening in the street and all that, I just was like, no, that's not what's happening here. People are protesting, yes, and they are doing it in a way to make sure that their voice is heard, but there's not violence happening in the streets. And so that's where I was like, no, that's not true. But there's just been so many headlines that you're just like, wait, what's happening now?
Every day there's something new.
It's just, and depending on the side is how drastic sometimes they make the headline.
Right.
Which I think is not always helpful when people are just really trying to have their voice heard.
Yeah. It's coming left and right, and unfortunately, there's numerous headlines every single day.
Yeah.
You think you've gotten a space of reprieve, like, okay, nothing's happening in this moment, but as soon as you open social media, look at a news outlet, something is happening. if someone hasn't been to church in years but still believes in God a little, or they're trying to reintroduce themselves to God, what do you think they're feeling while watching all of this?
You know, it's interesting because I think I encounter people who don't go to church every day. However, or just, on a regular basis. But I think people are really feeling um they're they're going through emotions. So I've seen a gamut of where they're upset, they're tearful and whatnot. And so then they're saying, we have to pray. And so not necessarily being in the building or being in church regular doesn't change for some people right now, that they're not
Right.
expecting some type of faith action. Let me use that word. And so I think people are looking for reassurance, especially for those of us who they know have a relationship with God.
Yeah.
They're looking for some type of something. And so I'm finding that I'm in conversations with people who are looking for something to connect to.
Yeah.
Whether they come into the church or not, they are looking for something. And I've been told, just hearing someone pray is making a difference for their moment, for their life. And so some are actually, like, we have a prayer call every Monday, and people are dialing in because they said that's helping them in this season,
Yeah.
in this moment. And that's where one person even just said to me, you know, everybody can use prayer right now, and it's what's carrying them.
Yeah. It
So
really
I
is.
think that's one way to think about it.
Yeah, I think about how um, the reality that God is present in real life,
Yeah,
that He's not housed in a brick and mortar.
yeah,
I think about how even we're gathering today online, our church, the gathering place, and people who aren't a part of the gathering place are joining together virtually and
mm-hmm.
experiencing God together. And I think it happens in a huge part of what the Christian life looks like. It happens in community outside of the four walls
Mm-hmm.
of a building, because we have to remember that we are the church.
Yeah,
A building doesn't make what the church is. And so uh, my mind is drawn to our brothers and sisters who are sheltered in place
right,
right now, specifically right here in Minnesota and in other cities
right,
across this nation, because they're afraid. And I want to emphasize
yeah,
that they are afraid to go outside because they might be racially profiled, they could be detained for reasons that are beyond us. And so uh, we have to, I think sometimes that we have to not be so siloed in our thinking that, oh, you got to get to church, you got to come to church.
mm-hmm.
And we have to really go to where people are. And so I hope that what we're doing today is reaching people where they are,
Mm-hmm.
and making space right where you are today. And so today we talked about what's trending in our world, and online primarily. We got the protests that are happening in the streets. We have political posts in our social media feeds. We have national debates that are really touching real lives. But what does it look like to be in the world and not of the world?
Yeah.
Jesus instructed us to live within society with compassion and courage while not being shaped by the world's division and the world's fear. And if I'm honest, that can only be done by the grace of God. It takes the Holy Spirit to kind of toe that line of being in this world but not of the world. And I want to dig into what that truly means for believers, for those who are Christ followers, for those who are following the model of Jesus Christ, especially in turbulent times right now. Um, and I want to talk about belonging without conforming.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a need for, and really a human a human nature, what's a part of our human nature is this longing to belong. But as a Christ follower, how do I belong without conforming? And my question is, can we be in this messy world but not of its chaos? Being in a community means we show up. I love what I've seen in on social media. I love what I've seen with people that I know personally, even myself, that we're showing up. We're not just watching, but we're actually showing up. We notice our neighbors. We wrestle with the civic responsibilities now more than ever, I think, of what it means to show up for our city and for our communities, that we care about what's happening. We care about dignity. We care about every life having what they need, even when decisions around us feel heavy or even polarizing. And this moment isn't just about politics.
Right.
I think that it's just politics, but really it's about people. Our neighbors are afraid to take their kids to school because federal tactics have reached into school zones. Federal officers have gone to schools. They've gone into churches. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there's schools in the Twin Cities that are closed up until February, or they've given the parent the decision to make whether they want to bring their kids to school or not, and they can teach them at home if they want to. And there's a whole rabbit hole I was about to go down about how then the parent has to stay home with the child, and the parent can't get the resources and the funds to take care of home, and how businesses are shutting down, but we won't go there. But because of that, people are organizing food drives, and not just food drives for people to come pick it up, but food drives to actually take resources and food to people because they can't come outside. There's escorts that are being mobilized because people are afraid to go outside by themselves. There's support that's happening for families who don't feel safe. And that's what belonging is. That's what looking out for your humanity is. It's when the scripture says that we are supposed to put our neighbor before ourselves. When scripture also tells us to love our neighbor as ourself, that we have to do the work of being a good neighbor. I feel like that's what real life is about. And really, that's what's being challenged right now. So Faith, can you tell us this? In the work you've done, you've been in human resources, and I would almost say some form of advocacy for about 20 years. What does belonging without conforming look like when the stakes are high? Where's this line standing between for you and your values and losing yourself in the world's conflicts? What does that look like for you in belonging right now?
I think it goes back to, if some of you remember and some may not, there used to be that saying of, what would Jesus do? And so, sorry, okay. When you think your brother, right? When you think about what would Jesus do, that's how I have kind of lived my life. Not even kind of, I have. And I think that when you're having to live in a place of, you're not conforming to what's happening, but you're also keeping understanding what is fair and what is dignity. And even as you were talking about the mobilization that's happening, and I think it's just very interesting. We're coming upon Martin Luther King's birthday because really it's also a celebration of civil rights movement. And if you think about the civil rights movement, they mobilized. Yeah. When they decided to start protesting and saying, you know what, as people of color, as Black people, we're not going to sit in the back of the bus anymore. So we're not getting on your bus. We'll mobilize and we'll walk and we'll get where we have to go. And what you're seeing, and people can say, well, I don't see, it's a parallel of what we're seeing today. You're seeing people who are being told they're not necessary for this moment, and so we're having to mobilize in a different way. Yeah. And I think people said the civil rights movement was crazy. Yeah. The federal government came out against them. But here we are, right? And so where do we draw? We have to look at the line of what's happening. And when you have people who are U.S. citizens who have contributed in many ways, and we have to help them, we're mobilizing. Yeah. And that's what we know to do. And I even take it to even during the time of COVID, when people didn't have we mobilized. We
Yeah.
made sure that people had food. Churches had food pantries. And those food pantries really haven't gone away. And there must be a reason why they didn't, because the need is still there. And it's now even different because it was that people were coming to the food pantries. Now we're mobilized to bring the food to them. And so there's this line of what would Jesus do? And Jesus just didn't come for the person who's saved and who's a Christian. Jesus came for the ones in the least of these.
Yes, he did.
And so if we're coming for the least of these, how could I not go and come for my brother or sister? Yeah. How can I not care? Yeah. How can I say I'm not going to do this because of the color of their skin? Well, that happened in the civil rights movement, and we had to rectify that. It's rectifying time. How do you rectify? We're always evolving, and so we should never be saying the same. Our country doesn't look that way. Yeah. And so this is the time where we evolve as people and continue to evolve, because change has come and we are different and people are contributing differently to our country. And so how do that's where I come back. What would Jesus want us to do? What would Jesus want us to do? And that's a real question. And I always tell myself, can I sleep at night? Have I done all that God would require me to do to make sure I'm treating my fellow man in the best way? And that's where I start to think through, where is that line?
Yeah. What would Jesus do? Yeah, that's very good. I think about how there's, this has nothing to do with my notes. So there's this narrative that, that the immigrant population here in the United States at large is a criminal. That a direct quote was from the insane asylums. That they are rapists and murderers, and in my research on social media, I've seen where a lot of people are, because that's what they see, that's what they hear, that's also what they believe. Yeah. They believe that they've taken on that belief, that ideology that we've got to get the criminals out, we've got to get the rapists out, we've got to get all these bad actors out of the United States. But I heard a statistic, and don't quote me directly on it, but it was they found that some 70+% of immigrants that have been detained have no criminal record at all. So when you mentioned what would Jesus do for my neighbor, no matter what they look like, it for me it causes me to take pause, and consider that, maybe there's what I'm hearing is not necessarily the gospel truth, and that I should still care, because Christ cared for me, the sinner that I am, not was, am. I falter, I fall, and still he came for me. And I think when we look at our brothers and our sisters through the lens of, yes, we're all guilty, we're all sinners saved by grace, and some haven't accepted him, but I'm still called to love them. That's something that just sparked in my mind while you talked about that.
I would even just say, because I think here's what happens, and that's why I say it's so good that it's Martin Luther King Day. It's the same rhetoric they said about Black people. I had the opportunity to live in Tulsa, and in North Tulsa, there was an incident where a young Black guy was accused of rape, and so then the people went in and destroyed everything that the people had built. Because why? He was a rapist. He was this. They were this. Yeah. It's the same rhetoric we're saying about the people today. Yeah. And people said it about Black people overall. Yeah, Emmett Till. Yeah. But yet you couldn't find where we were doing that as Black people. And so when does the narrative change? Because it seems to be the same rhetoric, but now it's the immigrants.
Yeah.
They're the problem.
Yeah.
They're causing issues. But you said that about black people, and that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
And so as the church, there were those who walked with black people and recognized that we were not doing all the things.
Yeah.
From Jewish to everyone. But here we are with the immigrants, and we're saying the same things. But I don't know about you. If I just take it to layman's term, when I go to McDonald's and I see the majority of the population working there is Latino, I don't get the impression that they're there because they're doing something and they're a bad person.
Right.
They're there to work. They're there to do what they need to do.
And pay taxes
And
like
pay
you
taxes. And quite honestly, they're quite devoted to Christ. They're quite devoted to Christ in a way that they are ones who are in the church, who are serving God. Yeah. And so my question, that's where it sparks like the same thing. That's why I bring out the similarities. The same thing was said about black people. And here we're saying it about immigrants. And it could not be proven that we were these people who were these bad people. We're black. We come from a very strong black family. We come from a family that has built ourselves in this community and in other communities. And we know the stories of our great-grandfather and great-grandparents being told no because of the color of their skin. Not because they weren't able and had the ability, but because the color of their skin, they were discriminated against. Yeah. They were told they couldn't do those things. And what you're seeing with the immigrants, yes, they come from another country. However, some are truly U.S. citizens and some have come here on asylum, but yet we're treating them in a way that's not proper.
Yeah. Like they're less than.
Like they're less than. Yeah. And so I question where we're at as people. Yeah. I question where we're at that we're, as the U.S., we're repeating. And we didn't even touch on what's happened with the American Indians. Mm-hmm. You know, there's just, what are we doing with the Asian American? There's just been so much. How do we repeat like this? And how do we look differently to not do the same? And so it does it's sparking some conversation because I know.
And it should.
And it should. Mm-hmm. And it should also cause us to just step back and say again, are we repeating history once again?
And what side of history are you going to fall on? Yeah.
Because I'm sure there are many people, and we've seen it, where once they came out of the civil rights movement and they recognized that they didn't have the right judgment about black people, they've tried to circle back and try to do things correctly. Mm-hmm. Some have, but then some have not, of course. Mm-hmm. But they found we were great contributors to what was happening in the growth of this country. Yeah. And that's what I look at the immigrants. We are much further in our workforce. My brother mentions I'm in HR. Listen, we needed them. Yeah. We needed them to build the economies. They've built businesses. They've added to buying houses. We are better and stronger because we've all come together and worked together. We can see it in Minnesota. Literally, you can see in certain suburbs where there is a high number of people who have the opportunity to come to U.S., and they'll work 2 and 3 jobs to make that life happen. Yeah. We went to school with them because they started migrating over here when we were kids. Yep. And we were in school with them. And we saw their parents working just as hard as ours. Right. So help me understand the differentiation. Everybody's not a criminal. Yeah. Everybody's not adding a problem. But in reality, they're the person who serves you at McDonald's when you want to go get that cheeseburger.
Mm-hmm. Mic drop. Here's something we have to clarify. People often think being prophetic means picking a political side. I don't know where that came from, but especially today, you have to either pick right or you have to pick left. But we know that prophetic witness isn't the same as really what I would consider partisan noise. Being prophetic means calling for justice and mercy, and not just more shouting. Because I feel like shouting is happening, and I think it pains me that shouting's not happening outside of the church only, but it's happening within the body of Christ, the church. I believe it means we speak truth with courage, but also with compassion, not to shame, nor to really score points for my political side, but really just to heal and to, again, point out that everyone is human and not dehumanize people. And so across our city right now, people are saying enough, and the cry is real. We saw it yesterday. There was a protest of a gentleman that declares himself to be a Christian, and he was fighting for Christianity, and he was protesting against Muslims here in the Twin Cities. And we saw people show up and say enough is enough. And I think a lot of people in the Twin Cities got this text, I'm sure, or saw it on social media. Do not go to Riverside. Do not go to downtown Minneapolis between these times and these times, because there's supposed to be this civil unrest that could spark. And we saw the Twin Cities stand up and say, absolutely not. And they showed up, and what he thought he was going to do, he wasn't able to carry out. So some are worried for safety. Some are worried about their rights. Some are worried about even their dignity, having that sense of dignity. And the national conversation only amplifies fear and anger for so many people. So here's the question that I have for you. How do we actually hear God's voice when everything online feels like really an echo chamber, that everybody has something to say? It's really noisy. Social media, conversations with friends and family, when you turn on the TV or turn on your smart device, catch on a live feed like people are watching us now.
Right.
There's so many conversations that are being had, but how do we hear God's voice? How do we avoid reacting like the rest of the world and instead live the gospel in the middle of what is national chaos? What do you have, prophet, for us?
Oh my gosh. Here's what I would say. I think we're human, right? And I think it's a human reaction to react.
Yep.
But I think when Christ lives within us, we will hear his voice for those. And maybe you'll be like, well, I don't hear his voice. But maybe I would say even reading in the Word of God, reading in the Bible, there's several books that talk about God, how Jesus was for the justice and how he fought for the justice. It begins to level set that information for you. And so, I know for me, I can get moved. I'm going to be honest. I looked at some of the postings and I began to weep because I saw people just sitting in their cars being taken out, not even given the opportunity to show that they are a U.S. citizen. And then they weren't like this grown adult. They were young people being pulled, not even recognizing what had gone wrong, and they're crying and everything else. And so in the midst of this, we have the relationship we have with God will help walk us through this. And he will speak to us. And you can say, well, is God speaking to this person who's saying this? I can't judge where another person is at. But what I can do is judge what God says to me. And what God says to me is, here's where I am. Now, I will say this. I am a person with melanin in skin. So I have a different empathy going on, and I recognize that. But that doesn't mean that's wrong or right or anything or I'm over. No, what does Jesus say? That's why I keep coming back to what would Jesus do? And that's where I think we have to hear Christ and walk in his steps. Jesus never rejected anybody. So if we just look at Jesus' story when he walked on the ground, you never seen him reject anyone. Yeah. He brought order. He brought order to things, and he showed love. And that's why people followed him. Yeah. Because he loved everybody. Yeah. It's not about your race. It's not about your nationality. It's not about your gender. Jesus loved everybody. He didn't care about your age. Yeah. Because he'd say, come to me. Yeah. So I think that's the piece that, that keeps me. I would even seem centered where I don't let things outside get too far because I'm just studying my mind on what would Jesus do?
Yeah.
Hey, can I give an answer to this one?
Oh yeah.
Trying to identify or walking towards opportunities that have been identified for positive change, ways that we can help with positive change.
Lisa said, one more time, Lisa, and I'll repeat.
Is she in the microphone?
Identifying and walking towards opportunities for positive change.
Identifying and walking towards opportunities for positive change.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I thought about, things people can do. Right now, people need volunteers at the churches to help sort and organize the food because we have to we have to feed the people.
Yeah.
You know, find something that you can do that's positive, that just kind of changes your mind, which I love, Lisa, because we have so many opportunities here and wherever you're at
Yeah.
to just give in that way.
Yeah. I think another, it sounds pretty simple, but I think it can be hard for us to do. I'll speak for myself. It can be challenging to do, is literally turn off the noise. If you have to log off of social media, if you have to delete the app for a day, if you have to not turn on your news outlet of choice, and instead spend time in God's word and just study the life of Jesus, I believe that you will begin to see what Jesus would do. And that as you spend time in prayer, as you study his life, I believe God will give you strategy on what you can do.
Yeah.
And he'll open your eyes to opportunities, like Lisa said, where you can make a positive change. I want to center this next idea on something simple but powerful. But before we get into that, can you let us know in the chat what are you doing? What's your practice on how you maintain clarity in hearing the voice of God amongst the noise and the chaos that's going around us? And you might say, well, I don't want to share mine. It's not going to help anybody. What if what you have to share could be the one thing that someone else needs to see and put into practice in their own life? So I want to invite you, whether you're watching us live or watching on the replay, let us know what you're doing to clearly hear the voice of God. But I want to center us on this idea, something simple but powerful. Mercy doesn't ignore wrongdoing. Mercy does not ignore wrongdoing, but mercy doesn't punch back harder either. And I think sometimes we feel like mercy looks like us getting vindication, us going after the person who did wrong to us. When Jesus said we're to love mercy, act justly, and walk humbly, he wasn't giving a bumper sticker for us to follow. He was giving us the blueprint for how we are to live our lives transformed. So, for those of us who are Christ followers, those of us who are following the pattern, the blueprint that God has given to us, we are to love mercy. We are to act justly and walk humbly. That is what we're supposed to do during these times. And right now, there's fear and there's anxiety everywhere, and I understand that. And people are chanting and protesting, and parents are on watch, and families are torn apart right now, whether we know it or not. As parents are getting detained, they're being separated from their children who are actually remaining here in the U.S. with no guarantee in the foreseeable future that they will be reunited with their children. That is a reality that is happening. And people are wondering if their neighbor will be the next person who gets detained. Will their neighbor be the next person who's questioned or yanked out of their car or wrongfully detained, even if they're an American citizen? That fear doesn't have a partisan address. It is a human address. Everybody is dealing with it, especially right here in the Twin Cities. So I want to talk about practical spiritual habits. For folks out there who are overwhelmed right now, what is one daily rhythm, one prayer, a lament maybe, a community connection that keeps your heart tender while you're trying to be strong? Let us know in the comments. Faith, can you tell us what is it that you're doing as a spiritual practice, a daily rhythm that keeps your heart tender?
Um, I'll give two things. One, I'm making sure that I'm spending time in prayer and just kind of really just asking God to just give me clarity, clear my mind, all the things. But the other thing I'm doing is I am being intentional to listen to music, worship
Hmm.
music. And Elevation has a song that's really gone live right now with Chandler Moore that's talking about grateful.
Yes.
And that song just hits the heart about the gratefulness of God and being grateful. And so I've just been listening to music to help just calm and just give me that calmness and just that spiritual rhythm to keep me just where
Mm.
I need to be. And so I think that's really helpful. Just surrounding yourself with that kind of just music. Um, I lean towards worship music, and so I think that just has been something that's helped me in this time.
Yeah. And you were telling the truth. Anytime you walk in Faith's house, there's music blasting on the TV. And as a musician, I can't take noise. But her house is filled with worship music more times than not. I think for me, a practice that keeps my heart tender is having conversations with people to hear where they're at. I don't know if it's the pastor in me. It probably is the pastor in me. It's also probably the empathetic nature of who I am. I want to hear your story
Yeah.
because I know that what I see and what I experience is one vantage point. I also want to hear the vantage point from the person who's actually living it. So I got a chance to talk to somebody who said that their mother lives in South Minneapolis, not too far from where Renee Good was murdered, and their mother had a knee replacement, I believe, hip replacement, one of the two. Um, she's an immigrant from Mexico, and because she's healing, of course, she can't go out and get what she
Mm-hmm.
needs. But her children are immigrants as well, but
Mm.
they're U.S. citizens. They're
Yeah. Yeah.
naturalized.
Yep.
So it was this tension of how do we meet the needs of our mother
Mm-hmm.
while in this neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
which is on a regular basis saturated with ICE
Mm-hmm.
agents. Um, and so there's this preparation or this practice of what what's the plan if we get stopped, if we
Yeah.
get asked about uh, our status. And so hearing stories like that keep my heart tender, um, because when you know what's happening, it should cause you to pray,
Yeah.
and it should cause you in some form or fashion to take action as a neighbor. Um, Faith, you come from a legacy of advocacy, and I'm talking about you as you're not my sister, but you are my sister. Our mother spent our mother spent decades at the Minnesota Department of Human Rights trying to make life better for every person.
Yeah.
And when I say decades, about 30 years
Mm-hmm.
that she did this good work,
Yeah.
or what John would say. What was John's last name? You don't know who I'm talking about. Good Trouble.
Oh, John Lewis.
John Lewis called it Good Trouble.
Good trouble.
You yourself, you spent over 20 years helping people navigate systems and conflict and even their own dignity, what that looks like. In this moment of protest, of court rulings and the heartache that's happening, what are practical, on the ground things that people of faith and goodwill can do this week? Because hope isn't just an idea, it's real help um, handed to a real person. So,
Mm-hmm.
what can we do from your perspective? How can we take action to help our neighbor?
I think it's one of the things I stated before. I think it's volunteering,
Mm-hmm.
recognizing where you can somehow be of help. I'll also say it's speaking up. I mean, one of the things that our mother taught us is that when things are happening and you are seeing someone visually being discriminated on a job and you know things are being said that are inappropriate, when you are quiet, you're complicit.
Mm.
But when you speak up, and you don't have to do it in an angry way, but you can do it in a professional way and say, that's not okay.
Yeah.
I've been in situations, even in the workplace, sometimes in corporate, it can get very heated. And people can speak in a tone that you're like, oh, that's not okay. But just to speak up and say, I think we should keep professional tones, and we should be able to say A, B, and C. And so I think that's a part of just being that person that you can do that. And I think right now, maybe you're not going to go out and protest.
Yeah.
But what are other things you can do? And even I will say this, Lawrence, we have a friend who we know some things, and just checking on your people, checking on your friends. Some people you really do know are probably in the heat of this, and they may have some situations where you just need to check on them.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a diverse amount of people around us, and we know some people who are of Latino, and then even our friends who are American Indian who've been getting picked up, and they're U.S. citizens. Checking on them and saying, "Are you okay? Do you need anything? Do you need to talk?" I think there's a few things people can do. If you're not a protester, okay, that's fine. But what else can you do? Can you just send an encouraging note? Maybe you even need to send a piece of humor, maybe that's what you do just to help them in this season.
Yeah. I think holding space in times like these is pivotal. It's necessary. It is checking on your neighbor, going outside of yourself, outside of your comfort zone, and actually asking, "Hey, are you okay? Do you need anything?" Yeah. Thank you for that.
I think, and I will tell you, I've had people calling me from out of state asking me, how are you guys doing?
Yeah.
How is your family doing? I mean, I think people are looking at this even from outside, like,
Yeah.
are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? Yeah. And then they're just encouraging you and saying, I'm praying for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had one person reach out to me from out of state. Thank you, Pastor Nicole. Yeah, I think we've got to do. I feel like I've taken it upon myself because I know that there's people in the United States who have no idea what's going on here.
Yeah. And
so I've just taken up the responsibility of letting everybody know via my social media what is going on. Share, repost. And I've gotten inboxes, and if you know me, I do not check my inbox sometimes 60, 30, 90 days later. And so I've gotten inboxes of people like, is this real?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry that you're going through this. Are you guys okay? This can't be. And it's this disbelief that is happening. And as a person who lives here, there is this disbelief, like, I cannot believe that this is our world in 2026, where the gamut of things are happening that we never thought would happen. As we close out this time together, I want to say thank you to my sister, Faith Brandon, for joining us today, sharing your heart, sharing your wisdom. But as we close, I want to remind our listeners of something, those who are watching live in the replay. It's something deep and something simple. Discipleship isn't about winning arguments or shouting the loudest on social media. It's about living Christ's love in the places where people actually live. That you, whether you believe it or not, you are the light of Christ, and that your light has to shine. And how will your light shine unless you show it, unless they hear it, through how you live, through where you work, and how you even breathe, that God is alive and he's alive in you. It's showing up at schools. For some, it may be showing up at a protest. For some, it could be, like Faith said, it could be speaking truth instead of choosing to be silent. For some, it's listening to someone else's story, listening to their pain, listening to their trouble, listening to their concerns, or even their questions. For some, it could be lamenting and telling God, this is a lot. and I need your help. And really casting our cares on the Lord. For some, it could be sitting with the pain without rushing to fix it. And I know for me, that can be hard to do. I call myself Mr. Fix It, but sometimes you can't fix some things. You have to give space, give opportunity, just listen and let the Lord bring resolve and bring healing and bring peace. It's doing justice with humanity. And I want to stress this, that we are all human. God has created us. And it is not my job, nor is it your job, to dehumanize people, to other people, to throw them in a category, in a box that is not human. I don't care whether you are male or female, black, white, orange, or pink. I don't care even if you choose to love someone who is the same gender as you. You are still human.
That's right.
And it's my job and my responsibility as a human, and then also as a Christ follower, to love you as I love myself. So here in Minneapolis and across Minnesota right now, love isn't a slogan, it's a neighbor, gently escorted home. Love is a neighbor taking a care package, groceries, to a family that is too afraid to come outside. Love is speaking truth to power, even when it is not popular. Love is seeing someone else without judgment. And love is a prayer whispered over a frightened child who doesn't know if they'll see their parents again. That's real life. That's real faith. And that is real love. I want to invite you to love someone. This week, today is Sunday, tomorrow's MLK Day. Take an opportunity, reach out, love someone. We had a cousin that just passed last week. Her funeral was yesterday, and she was known for loving. She was known for showing up. She was known for being a good friend. And it's the question I often ask myself. And I want to ask you, what will they say about you when your time is done? Did you love? Did you care? Did you show up? During this time, I want to invite you. We are only able to do this because of your generosity. So I want to invite you to share in generosity. Thank you for those who partner with us already. Your generosity makes a huge difference in what we're doing here at the Gathering Place. But if you're watching this for the first time and you're like, I believe in this, I believe in what they're doing, I want to invite you to partner. You can partner with us via online on our website. You can give. We have Cash App and we have Venmo. And if you're watching on your cell phone, you can even screenshot this right now, and then you can go to your photos, and then you can hold down your finger over whichever QR code applies to you, and then it will take you directly to the website. I just found that out a couple months ago. Technology is moving fast. So I want to pass that along to you. Thank you for your generosity. Your generosity helps us not only to do the work of the ministry here in the Twin Cities, but beyond. There are kids that we sponsor right now, every single month in Uganda, Africa. And because of your generosity, we are feeding them, we are clothing them. They are getting the best education. It is a private school education. And not only are the kids benefiting from it, but their families get health care because of your generosity. Their families have food because of your generosity. And even their families are being taught trades and skills so that they can even start to provide for themselves. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for your generosity. Another thing that's coming up here at the Gathering Place is on February 6th, we have our Collide Worship Night. It is happening. Doors open at 6:30. We start promptly at 7 p.m. And I want to invite you to come out if you're here in the Twin Cities, which we're not live online, but It is a live event that happens in person, and we're going to take some time at our next Collide night. We're going to worship as we normally do, but we're also going to take the time to pray. I believe prayer is pivotal. It's what we've been doing, but we're really going to emphasize prayer and worship. And I believe that as we pray, as we seek and petition God, that He will answer. And so we're going to do that together on February 6th. So invite your friends, invite your neighbors. If you got to hop in the car and drive here from Chicago, come on up. We'd love to have you. It's going to be a good time. And I just want to give one last announcement. Normally we do have prayer at 6:30 every single Monday, but this coming Monday, tomorrow, MLK Day, we will not be having prayer. So I want to invite you, pray where you're at. Take that time, maybe not so early at 6:30, but call somebody later on in the day. Check in on them. Pray for them. If you know somebody who needs a meal but can't go get a meal, do the work of being a good neighbor and take them a meal. But until next time, we love you. God bless you. And have an amazing weekend. And happy Martin Luther King Day.
Hey, y'all, how y'all doing?
One, one.